G-Mash here making bold statements in this podcast, and I have science to back me up. I'm going to show you that you can reverse and prevent any, and I mean any chronic disease, and look at least 10 years younger than your biological age in the process. And it gets better. You could achieve this feat within 2 years. I call this podcast Disease 2021. 20 diseases, 2 years to fix, one root cause. I'm going to run you through 20 screens, each screen representing a disease. The point here is that we can reverse and prevent each and every one of them. Take a watch. All 20 diseases relate to metabolic syndrome, also called Syndrome X or insulin resistance syndrome. What you have just seen are called triple C's, and currently what we are socialized in is to address these 20 conditions using what I call triple T's. We are in a huge health mess right now. The list you just previewed are by no means exhaustive. I just chose the most common ones that we can easily relate to. Now, if you know anyone experiencing any of the above, I've got good news. Please tell them their nightmare is over. All they need to do is break away from the status quo. What I suggest that needs to be done in order to reverse their condition is to take out the equivalent of between $20 and do one test, just one blood test. And that blood test results will give an indication of the therapy that your body needs. That's what we are asking for. And let's assume that you are paying a lot to Big Pharma and you are on a cocktail of drugs. We need and want to change that narrative right here. I have a beef. I'm one of the many who has a problem with death caused by Big Pharma drugs and therapies where no one gets jailed for them. Yet we have a legal system rightfully jailing street drug dealers and peddlers. After all, it's a crime. My beef is that where 40,000 deaths are caused by illegal drugs, a whopping 400,000 deaths are caused by trusting in a failed healthcare system in that same year. Yet no one gets jailed for this medical crime. This crime is called iatrogenesis, which happens to be the third leading cause of death globally. That is death by medical intervention. I am doing this to avoid someone I know or someone you know becoming the 400,001 casualty. I did say we needed to do a $20 to $40 blood test, right? So before you spend another dime on healthcare, before you travel miles to see a specialist, all the 20 disease conditions that you just saw right here have one common denominator. They have one prevalent root cause. And I'm about to make another bold statement here. These are all symptoms of insulin resistance, which is a pre-diabetic condition pointing to a high insulin situation. Could it be that if we address insulin resistance, we could get to the root of all these 20 diseases? I make that bold statement and repeat it. Insulin resistance is the root cause of all these 20 diseases. A well-respected international transformational speaker who grasps in the space of building the spirit and the mind, a good and old friend of mine, a medical doctor by training, Dr. Shola Fola Alade, put it so well with his quote. And I am interestingly reminded of Albert Einstein, who said, the thinking that got us to where we are is not the thinking that will get us to where we want to be. The question is, what do we need to do to be free of all these complex chronic conditions? Now, taking a cue from Dr. Fola Alade, one thing we do not want is to end up with frogs in fairy tales. We can rescue our health. However, we need to stop for a brief second. We need to make a conscious, deliberate, and determined effort that if we suffer any of these diseases or know anyone who does, we need to understand that insulin resistance could be the root cause of their disease. Let's go deeper. One of the diseases with insulin as its root cause is dementia. It is already a pandemic. There will be higher numbers of dementia cases from baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964, currently between the ages of 57 to 75. However, more concerning is my generation, the Gen X's, those of us born between 1965 and 1980, currently between the ages of 41 to 56 years of age. It is concerning because we are going to experience the biggest cases of dementia ever witnessed, and that is if we do not change our thinking towards health care. There are 6 things we need to double down on immediately in order to prevent early onset dementia amongst we Gen X's and also amongst the baby boomers. Dementia has no medical cure and its early onset goes undetected. There are 6 in 10 that have early dementia that comes becoming undetected. The first thing you need to do is to optimize your sleep. Have quality, not quantity sleep. Have at least 7 hours of sleep daily. Please take a listen to my podcast on Fix Your Balls, Get Your Groove Back, and other podcasts that I've done on sleep. Then you need to do the other 6 I'm going to show you here and do them daily. Now, since 1980, a dementia Alzheimer's has risen from obscurity to becoming the 6th leading cause of death in the world amongst adults. The previous onset age of 60 years is set to drop to around 35 years of age. That is alarming. Before we go to the next appointment with our doctor, or before we take the next toxic big pharma nonsense, please do a proper insulin test. The cost compared to the benefits cannot be quantified. And when you go for that test, it cannot be an FPS test, that is fasting blood sugar test. And I'll tell you why. High insulin might not show up in your blood sugar, but it will definitely show up if you do a fasting insulin test. By means of Introduction. My name is George Mashiko, and if my insulin resistance theory holds water, and I know it does, if your fasting insulin test shows abnormal insulin levels, then it means two things. It means clearly insulin resistance is not simply a problem of deficient glucose uptake in response to insulin, but a multifaceted syndrome that increases significantly the risk for all-cause mortality. And secondly, it also means that we need to be better custodians of our health. I am not a medical practitioner. I'm not licensed to give medical advice. I could not have obtained the entry criteria to study human medicine, talk less of veterinary medicine. Veterinary medicine being a wider but shallower field of medicine. However, what I do have is a wide and deep experience recovering my health, and that is what I share on this platform. My insulin levels were climbing. I was getting less sensitive, and I needed to fix that. Now I know that high levels of insulin destroy the lining of the arteries. It targets something called the endothelial layer of your vascular system, and then comes a cascade of other issues relating to heart diseases, blood pressure, stroke, erectile dysfunction, low sex drive, dementias, depression, and all sorts of things. The body gets broken down. Now, but interestingly, the disease state first starts as a dysfunction or a disorder of the circulatory system. And by that, I mean both your cardiovascular and your lymphatic systems. They both get compromised. These are two systems that are both home to multiple components of your immune system. Now, in our circulatory system, we have at least 3 times more lymph than we have blood. Our blood gets pumped by our heart. Our lymphatic system does not have a pump. Our limbs get circulated by us moving. We need to invest in good walking or sport shoes and to start moving. We need to stop being sedentary. We need to move. So I've come up with 10 recommendations. So for instance, if you have erectile dysfunction, I don't know why I keep going back to ED. So in the case of ED, if you take testosterone, for instance, I need to state that there is a low success in taking that hormone as an exogenous hormone, or in fact, any chemical big pharma product, because taking these products won't necessarily or permanently fix your resistance to insulin. They might and should help you temporarily. However, you will get low success on the long run. So I have 10 recommendations, and here they are. So rather, let us get to the root cause. Let's get to understand why we have these issues and correct high insulin permanently. Let us stop treating symptoms. Let us stop treating those 20 diseases. We do not want to keep throwing down the drain thousands and thousands of dollars in medical bills, and in doing that also increasing your stress levels. And at the end of it all, you end up being worse off than when you started the treatment. And that is why I came up with these 10 recommendations to attack the root cause. And this is by no chance exhaustive. To those of you who are insulin sensitive, those of you who are living healthy and wealthy lives in full wellness, well done. There are millions living in optimal health. And here is my pitch, both to those living healthy and those needing to reverse insulin intolerance. I am recommending using the 9 pills in the Sentences Toolbox kit. There will always be that one moment when an event in your life translates into a cascade of events. This was one of them. As part of my recovery, and in order to reverse my insulin resistance, I met with destiny. I cannot talk about the Senses platform without first briefly mentioning Chinese entrepreneur Mr. Zhu Zuwei. I just can't. Mr. Zhu Zuwei's deep philosophy gave me the confidence to build the Senses platform. Now, using his platform, I'm a diplomat and an ambassador of Senses. I'm obsessed with it. And today we are using 6 pills in recommending 10 ways on how to reverse insulin resistance. I was fast getting more insulin insensitive due to taking between 15 to 20 toxic chemical pills daily, doing the wrong things, not sleeping well, not exercising. I knew no better at that point in time. So I developed Senses because pharmacology had failed me woefully. Some studies have shown that the use of exogenous insulin is associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular events, of cancer, and all-cause mortality. You do not need external hormones to fix yourself. You do not need big pharma chemicals. That is the old way. We are in the new normal now with simple lifestyle changes. Using our 10 recommendations and our 6 pills in the toolbox kit, you can recover your health. That is a guarantee. You need to do 6 things or use 6 of the pills. I'm going to take you through them. Keep educating and empowering yourself. Keep nutrifying. Flood your body with nourishment. You need to simply walk. Go for aerobics. Quality sleep. 7 hours minimum. You need to fix the hormone cortisol, reducing your stress in the process. And finally, but not the least, you need to take lots of sunshine vitamins. You in 2 years will fix your insulin resistance. That is a guarantee that I'm giving to you. I have put out a more comprehensive video on insulin. It's a lot lengthier than this one. It's titled Understanding and Fixing Insulin Resistance. I have done it cutting off all the medical jargons. The link is in the description below. Check that, please. Well, that's it for me today, the 8th of May 2021. However, it will be criminal of me to close without stating this. I cannot end without warning us of the next pandemic. It's one that is going to be worse than the current COVID-19. It should graze our globe between 2023 and 2025. Look out for that podcast. We are building foundation, and I hope this video gave you more clarity on how chronic diseases are root cause linked to insulin resistance. We are laying a foundation and building our library. This is a 5-year project in itself, having at least 5 million viewers and listeners and 550,000 organic tribe and community members by 2026. I hope this was helpful. I titled this one Disease 2021, 20 diseases, 2 years to fix, 1 root cause. If you found it helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this podcast, comment, and please do set on the notification button so you will get the podcast that we create. Please do check in the description below for the podcast titled Understanding and Fixing Insulin Resistance. It gives a simpler understanding of insulin. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and have a healthy and wealthy day. And of course, have an insulin sensitive day. God bless.